one that was very iconic for me, and it was something I was bragging about for a while, and I still do kinda. I was stabbed in the throat with a broken light tube. You can kind of see a dark little mark right here,
Darren.
and it used to go down this way.
Oh my god. Hello, my friends. Welcome back to a Candid Conversation with. My name is Breeze, and today we have a very special guest with us. I'm going to let him introduce himself before I explain the situation. So, who are you and what do you do?
Hello, everyone. I am known as the gashed Darren Crowe. I'm a professional wrestler hailing from Buffalo, New York. I am also a video editing producer from Gashed Media and also a vocalist in a few other bands known as Kodos and Immortality Severed. Almost messed that one up.
Those are new. Hold on. This is news from the last time. Okay, so yeah, let me fucking clear some shit up real quick because Darren and I have actually had a conversation before, and it was a really good conversation. We had a lot of fun. We got to talk all about so many things. And y'all, I'm not faultless. I deleted that footage. It's my first time in all the years of doing these interviews that I just don't know what happened, and it just disappeared, and I was clearing space and it was gone. I tried all the things. So Darren was nice enough to come back and do this again. And he was like, a lot has happened since we last talked. That was, I think, in March, and it is now August. So he was like, we've got new stuff to talk about. And also, I have asked the folks on my Patreon for questions as well. So I gave kind of a brief introduction on the Patreon of Darren, and they have some questions they submitted as well. So we will go through those a little bit later. But you just mentioned two new bands that are not on my sheet. I feel like Thrones of Redemption was the last one we talked about, and now I'm hearing new words. So let's talk about that for a second.
So I recall that there was a project that I mentioned doing about over 10 years ago, and it was like a Japanese cover band back in the day. I knew some people from way over there, and I used to do some stuff with them. I still kind of credit myself under their works. It's kind of inactive at the moment, but their works has been around. I was working Thrones of Redemption with Jeremiah Richter, who people know as the other member of Edge of Hope, who is a fellow tag team champion with me for ESW. We were talking about doing this band, and we had a couple projects in the works and stuff. We did have a couple setbacks with injuries and the such, but things did change over time, and we figured, hey, let's just start abroad. Let's start completely new, clean slate. So we were working on a theme song for Edge of Hope. So this might be the first time that this is mentioned publicly, but we did
scoop. That's
first
amazing.
display it at Excite Wrestling. Yeah, we did. We were doing tapings for Excite Wrestling. This is for the show for Up All Night on the Roku, and they needed songs that were copyright free, and I'm like, totally get that. Can't really get away with Vice Grip from Parkway Drive these days. So when me and Richter were coming together, like, hey, let's work on this song. We've been talking about it for a while. Let's do it. So he got on the guitar. He was helping with like putting the trackings together. I was doing the vocals for it. And it's just primarily like this hardcore death metal kind of core vibe to it. And we sent it over to who was our drummer from Thrones of Redemption. He was able to completely master it together, and it came out pretty well. People really liked it. So we're waiting on a set time to eventually release it. But right now we're just kind of slowly putting it in the companies here and there. Like it should be very widespread soon. This band that we're working on, we decided to go with Immortality Severed.
I like that.
I'm a huge Sekiro fan. I am a little bit of a gamer, and I love my FromSoft games like the Dark Souls and Bloodborne, but I got on a huge Sekiro high.
Okay.
And
Okay.
I was like, oh, you know what? This is sick. I love the concept of a sword that can completely rip away people's immortality and completely put them away for good. I'm like, that is such a very metal concept that we had to turn into a a band name. So we
Yo.
went with that. So and we're right now working on a few more songs right now. I'm waiting for Richter to send me some trackings. He actually sent me a sneak peek of one of the ones that we're working on at this moment.
Oh, that's
So
so
to be
exciting.
continued.
That's so cool. I love that. See, so much has happened in the last couple of months that I feel like now I'm
Oh
getting the
yeah.
inside scoop because I was dumb enough to delete some footage. I'm going to come back to the gaming thing because last time when we talked, we realized that you were into Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines, and I was like, holy shit, that's my jam. Literally one of my
Yeah.
favorite games. And like, I've never played the tabletop, but like, it is in my heart forever. So we're going to come back to that. But, primarily, I met you because you're a wrestler. You're in the indie scene where I had really started filming things between Excite and ESW, and I started going to Buffalo Wrestling Academy for a couple of things. So,
Yeah.
tell me a little bit about how you came up as a wrestler.
I kind of started a little late. A lot of stories for wrestling, they say they start at age 18, which is the common norm. People like to start very young on it. I tried to get started at the age of 16. You can get trained at 16. You can't get in the ring like actually doing shows until you're 18. Um, Things can happen between those years, and I kind of ended up turned away from the business in entirety. And that was when I was starting to go into music again, and I was doing the band that was previously mentioned. Um, it took until I was at the age of 23, and this was right when COVID happened, like 2020. So shows were no longer running, and if you were trying to run shows, it had to be tapings, and you only had to have a very select few people in the building to follow the COVID restriction guidelines. So at this point, a wrestler who I knew way back in the day, he wanted to get my foot in the door into the business. He wanted to lead me to a better path than was whatever I was doing. I've had a backstory, a little bit of a history of doing stupid stunts for attention, like CKY, jackass vibes, jumping off of roofs and all that. And I kind of wanted to be a professional wrestler. Like this was my chance to break out. I was training under who you know as Robbie Vegas during that time. And in short time, I want to say few months after the fact, Vince Valor and Anthony Gaines from Empire State Wrestling ended up scouting a few of us out. I was kind of goofing around in a warehouse, and that warehouse ended up becoming the original ESW training facility. Um, this was before Robbie and Vince and the others kind of banded together and formed a school that would be from the Eastern Hills Mall to now where is in Broadway and Depew. It took me a while to kind of get my foot in the door, but when I did, it was just smooth sailing from there.
Yeah. You I think I told you the story when we last talked, but I love it. It was when I came to BWA for the very first time, and I want to say I might have gotten Vince saying it cuz he was wearing a mic, but we were filming some of the practices. You guys were doing practice matches, and I believe we used yours in the final video. And when you came by my camera, like you immediately honed in on it, right? And you were just like right there. And I remember hearing Vince say he always finds the camera. And like you just very much naturally had this stage presence, even in practice, that I was like so impressed with. And I was like, oh, I've got to see him like wrestle in a show or something. So I was so excited that you wanted to like chat. And I've gotten to see you a couple times since then. But you really do have like such a natural stage presence to you when it comes to being in the ring. And it's hilarious to me because you are, don't mean to blow your cover here, but people probably know that you're like, they can guess that you're a really nice dude. Like you just come off very friendly, and like you've always been very kind in the interactions I've seen with you. And so when you get in the ring, you're like fucking scary. Like you can flip the switch. So like, tell me a little bit about how you've developed this character, like where this came from and like how you do that.
So kind of from the get-go, as a child, I kind of was never afraid of being on stage and kind of showing out. I was always a bit of a like trying to be a show off, trying to entertain people. That was where I kind of shined the most. Socially, I was always awkward. I was always shy. I never really wanted to break out as much. That was one of my weaknesses of trying to get into professional wrestling, is I was definitely worried I was going to crack under pressure, having to interact and meet with so many people. A lot of what goes into me being a wrestler and having this presence kind of blends in with my overwhelming love and obsession with horror movies. Uh, it's borderline ridiculous. Like, you can see all the masks I have and all these props that I'm owning. I was subjected to horror movies at a very, very early age, like watching Halloween at the age of 2, and then going forward to, like, From Dusk Till Dawn and Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and then there was always a pattern that I picked up on where, how the mannerisms of these characters work as the killer or some sort of, backup antagonist, you know what I mean? Uh, I was a huge fan of, like, Michael Myers or Stu Macher's Ghostface, uh, huge on them, and I kind of learned how to adapt them into my own little flavor of this character that I am betraying, this person who I am. Not at all what I do when I'm out in the real world, you know, like, there's a reason these killers wear their masks and they don't get revealed till the end, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Uh I it took a while for me to kind of break out of my shell and to feel comfortable being this persona, this gashed Darren Crowe, this unhinged, brutal, uh, this crazy figure
Mm.
that will stop at nothing to thrive off of the pain, to give the pain. It's been a great journey.
Yeah, you've got a really cool, like, obviously you have your mask in the back, but you have a mask that you have for your character, and it's got like kind of the pieces missing from it and the scars that you kind of do. So tell me about, like, how did you get the mask? How did you develop that? Like, how much of that was like, oh, I designed this, or I had someone design this?
I didn't design anything. So so I had no idea how I was gonna start doing this character. I was kind of having cold feet about it at first. When
Mm,
I started doing the pro wrestling, I wasn't Darren Crowe.
yeah.
People know me as Ian Quick. I was this 1, 2, 3 kid-like gimmick. I was supposed to be this underdog, and the way that they booked me was that I was winning more matches than I should have been, and that made that kind of made little to no sense. But you know, you kind of roll with the punches. When I was getting into the Darren Crowe part of my life, I had this black Tom Savini Jason Voorhees mask, this hockey mask with so many chips and scratches and stuff. It was based off of Savini's design that was going into the game. And I did get permission from Savini. I was like, if I could do this, that would be great. So I kind of ran with it for how many years? When it was getting to the point where it was having its wear and tear, I needed to adapt to something else because I also realized there's going to be wrestlers that wear hockey masks. So hockey masks were just kind of the popular thing. Thank you, Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
Um, so I ended up having this brown burlap strap mask, and it's made by the same guy who's done my current mask. But it was purely brown burlap. It had the one eye out and everything like that. Other than that, it was like this blank looking face, you know what I mean? And that was kind of where I was getting at with it. That was my original intent, was that this mask is blank. It's
Mm.
kind of like the Myers mask, is that it's a blank, emotionless canvas. And then when you take off the mask, here's the scars, here's this deranged look, here's me snarling at the camera, here's me like saying all these crazy things, you know? It was supposed to be like this switch that flicked, and the mask went missing at some point. So I had an emergency. I had to go to make an emergency order, and the guy who made the previous mask, he made this upcoming one. He goes by Lifeless Creations, and the way that he had this mask as you saw, it had this awesome like metallic ring around one eye.
Mm.
The other one had the same eyeless pattern as the previous mask. My favorite feature was that the mouth is gaping open, and I put on the mask very tight. So when I'm moving my jaw and I'm yelling and I'm getting pretty crazy out there, it moves with my jaw. So it's like this unhinging of the jaw like a snake. And I kind of grew into that concept as like, well, the mask is me. Why am I trying to portray this mask as like an opposite of me when it's
Yeah.
kind of just me? So
Yeah. It's really cool. I remember seeing it and being like, Whoa, like that's what that looks like. It was just like something that was purposefully made for you because it just seems to fit you so well. Um, you
I get a
have
lot of Slipknot comments from it.
right. Oh yeah, I didn't even think about that. Yeah. Do you ever wrestle in it, or do you always take it off? I feel like it would be very obstructive.
I wanted to, and so then there's a funny story too. Mikey Whipwreck is there for Excite tapings now for the shows that they're putting out, and he came up to me in the back and goes, "I really fucking love your mask. Like, do you wrestle in it?" I was like, "God, I wish. I really don't want to ruin the only thing that I can wear to the ring right now, you
Yeah.
know?" And I like to separate, even though I try to make the mask is pretty much me in a sense, it's also kind of not me. Like, there's a distinct
Mm.
difference between the mask and its influence, and then Darren Crowe, this canvas that this mask is painting over.
I like that. That's pretty cool. And it's also like a good excuse to not ruin the thing that you're coming out in and you don't want to like cuz
Right.
you do some crazy shit. I was just watching one of your stories. I think it was from your show yesterday cuz you had a show what Friday, Saturday and you were at open tryouts today. How are you feeling by the way? Are
Yes.
you like sore? Are you good?
Um, Physically, I'm great.
Okay.
Tired.
Yeah. And you still agreed to do this. And I was like, we can move it. And you're like, no, Mama's ready. I'm totally good. I
Oh,
was
of
like,
course.
okay, thank you. But you had posted something, it was so clean too. You had done some sort of flip over the ring into like a group of guys and just stood up immediately and like were high-fiving people and whatever. When you first started getting into wrestling, obviously you don't have a fear of, the adrenaline type things like jumping off the top rope or whatever it may be. What was the hardest thing about getting into wrestling? Like that part was easy. Like what part did you struggle with?
I think I was struggling the most of being something that people can look forward to watching.
Mm.
When I grew up, it was kind of a lonely childhood. So I kind of gave myself the attention I wanted by recording myself like jumping off of roofs into 5-foot pools and risking my tailbone and all this stuff. That the only way that I was able to just get over like jumping off of these things and doing stupid stuff for attention is the cameras were rolling. Because that was the whole, loving the stage part of me was when the cameras were rolling, mama didn't raise no bitch. I'm doing it. I
Yeah.
just kind of peer pressure myself to do it. I have to Billy Loomis the Stu Mocker into it. So
Hmm.
that was what I was for me, it was being me, being who I am in and out of the ring can feel so niche. It can be such a struggle to have everybody relate to it. And there's people who are kind of oversaturated with dark characters and cryptic stuff. And I get that. Um, I want to give people a more simplistic, more slasher slop version
Mm.
of horror. And that's what we really love at the end of the day. We love simplicity in that stuff. And if I can give people simplicity of this guy is unhinged, he will put his body on the line to entertain the masses and for his own personal pleasure, then I'm doing my job right. And I was afraid of that for the longest time. 6 years into the business, and I was always afraid of it up until this very year.
Really? What clicked this year for you? Because you've got belts back there. Some stuff has happened recently. You've popped off. Let's say.
There was a point where I was going through a bad episode.
Mm.
I had a really rough period in my life the last year. It was exactly a year from this point. Um, I ended up needing to go off the grid. I completely shut down everything, my media brand, just any bookings, anything of the sort. I was done. Um, and I needed to get help. But it wasn't I just needed to get help. I wanted to get help.
Yeah.
And it took a while. It took several months of just getting back to what I felt were broken pieces, needing to mend them together, reconnect with people, feeling that I was going to be the best version of myself going back into wrestling. And when I was going back into wrestling, I needed to, for them or myself to make amends. And to this day, I felt like I still need to make amends. This is the best, I got to keep doing this. This is the way that I'll be eternally forgiven for what was going on in my head.
Yeah.
When I did come back, I was capping off the year on a high note, and then once this year began, things just kept looking up.
Mm.
Just in terms of bookings, debuts, I got to work for IWF, I got to work for Flex Wrestling. I started getting titles put on me. I was Erie All-Star light heavyweight champion for a good while. It was on the run of my life. Won the EWF Next Level Championship for the third time. And then I have the ESW Tag Team Championship, which was a personal goal of mine and Richter's for like the longest time.
That's
Which
awesome.
once that happened, that was for me the biggest high.
Yeah. Where do you see yourself going from here now that you're on this role? Whether that's, you know, you have goals personally as a wrestler, I want to go here, I want to work for this, or does your character have a storyline of you're like, I wish it would go here, I want to do this?
All of the above. There's so many places I want to be. There's so many things I want to do. And I've gotten to the point where there's only up from here. Even if there's like a pebble or stone on the road, even if I happen to trip, I just got to pick myself and just keep going. I can't bring myself back down to that level I was before. This is unapologetically me. I got personal goals like I want to work in GCW. I have people that worked in GCW in Rochester, and in a very healthy manner. I'm jealous of them.
Yeah.
I love it for them. But God, I wish it were me.
Yeah.
And you never know. So it's one of those things where, hey, I'd like to be in GCW. I'd like to get more bookings over at Flex. Yeah, anywhere I can
Yeah.
is and whatever I can to up the value, give people what they want, for my pleasure and theirs. And there's a storyline that does go with the Darren Crowe shtick. In fact, it's kind of more of a personal, real life thing. We did talk about this the last time,
Yeah.
and I feel like this is a perfect time to kind of mention this story.
Please do.
Uh, the mask itself is based off of someone in real life. It is based off of someone who I knew when I was very young. He was my father's best friend, and in turn, he was like my older brother. I called him Uncle Joe. He was like one of the best people that were there for me. It was a very lonely life, like I said. And he tragically passed away when I was like 11 or 12. And it was one of the worst periods of my life. What would kids call it? A Candid event. And so growing up was a nightmare. There was a point where I was in high school and I took the train from my place to school or school back there because I went to City Honors in Buffalo. There was a point where I got on the train and I saw someone that looked exactly like him. I didn't want to look at him. I didn't want to stare at him, but off the corner of my eye, it looked exactly like him. And I felt myself freeze up. I froze. The hairs on my arm were just sticking straight up. I felt this odd, chilling goosebump on the back of my neck. And the next thing I know, the door's already closing and he's gone. And I didn't know if it was just he just left the train and it was just someone that looked like him, or if it was him and I'm just like, I was losing my mind.
Yeah.
So going in, and it kind of had me thinking a lot more. Like when I would connect with my father about him, I'd ask all these questions about him and stuff that I've never knew, stuff that I'd like to have known and all that. So there was a point where something clicked in for me, and the mask is more of homage to him. It's my way of remembering him, not like inspiration or anything like that. It's a memory that I hang on to of someone who was very close to me. And the whole thing, the mask in itself is labeled the Crooked Shadow. Totally not a Malkavian reference from Vampire the Masquerade. I felt like it kind of makes sense in some way, like a real life Malkavian. I'm kind of losing my mind and all that. And it's just, it's like me talking to what I feel like is him through this mask. And is he real? Is he not real? That's something that I always question myself.
Yeah. That's really cool. I do remember you talking about that story, and I was like, wow, how many people have that much of like a purpose and a backstory behind their character? And like you said, you didn't start as Darren Crowe. You were something totally different. And it feels like this is much more you, and it has much more meaning behind it. And I'm sure that makes it easier for you to come out in front of crowds and be like, and here I am.
There was something about being able to mix the horror elements and then just me,
Yeah.
because I had to realize that to be a wrestler that people can relate to understand, to get people talking, is you got to also be realistically you.
Yeah.
And I felt like, well, the horror aspect is me, but what about other parts of me? Like my openness to my mental state and
Hmm.
how I may feel about things, or how, of course, if I'm a bad guy, like I just got to do my job and stuff like that. But being like what people call the face, the good guy, I feel like is more me. It helps me
Really?
stand out more of who I am as a person. I used to love being a heel, and I
Yeah.
still do, but I love being someone that people can look forward to.
Mm.
Whether it's the first show they have ever went to, and, "Oh my god, who's this tall, dark, and edgy guy who's wearing this mask and is, like, jumping off the top rope and nearly killing himself for the viewing pleasure of people?"
Hmm.
It feels so much better, and it feels more me than anything else.
Yeah, you're insanely over with crowds. Every show I've gone to, like everyone's very excited for you and for Edge of Hope. Like it's just working for y'all. And I know we kind of touched on Edge of Hope a little bit, and if people don't know, feel free to explain like your stable faction, you know, how that got started. But it's always gone over really well with crowds every time I've seen it.
Edge of Hope is a very long story, but the way it started out was, it didn't start out primarily as Edge of Hope. Um, Young Lion of the West Matic, people know him from Rochester. He's a coach at Ground Zero. He's wrestled in ESW. He wrestles actively in Excite, Flex, all that. Um, I kind of He was one of the people I met in the wrestling business of like trying to get better with myself. I had won a singles title along the way in like the very early stages of my wrestling career, which imposter syndrome. I didn't feel like I deserved that kind of spot, but it kind of happened. And it turned into this long-standing feud with him where we were doing a lot of multi-mans, and then eventually we were doing one-on-ones. We would beat the ever-living hell out of each other, and we did fun with it. Like
Mm.
for the crowds that we had, it was kind of criminal. It was like how great we worked with each other, and we never were too familiar with each other. You know what I mean? This is
Yeah.
when Ciaran Rain was just breaking into business as well, because he was training and getting in the shows roughly around the same time I have. Um, After the feud ended, Matic and I kind of connected more, and he started to realize, I don't know if it's because my trainers told him or something came through the grapevine, but he knew that Ian Quick was not the character I originally came up with. Uh, so funny story, I was Darren Crowe in the yard, and it was a throwaway name. It was never supposed to be a name I was going to stick around with.
Interesting.
So when I got into pro wrestling and I was like, oh, well, I'm starting, they kind of gave me the Ian Quick moniker, and I was going to take that ball and run with it to the best of my ability.
Mm.
Matic went up and goes, absolutely not. I am tagging with Darren. I'm tagging with him. He's going to be Darren Crowe. And I'm just like, I'm not going to question it. We didn't have a set name. We just called ourselves the Void or something like that, because
Okay.
I played Destiny and I was like, oh, Night Stalker, light the it was like follow the Void, light the way.
Yeah.
So that was like just a throwaway name. We never really did more than a match there, because when we won the tag titles, the company kind of went on hiatus for a few years.
Mm.
So eventually, we would do tapings for a wrestling school, and this was when Matic and Ciaran started to kind of blend into each other. The meaning for Edge of Hope is that uh, it's recovering addict Ciaran Rain. He's very open about his story.
Mhm.
He's great when it comes with his journey, how he plans on helping people, how he helps people along the way. It's insane. And Matic has always been straight edge. So Edge of Hope kind of
Mhm.
blended in. You have Hope Dealer, and then you have straight edge Young Lion of the West. But it was all collectively, like, we all agreed it was going to be all four of us to begin with. It was just a matter of how we going to put it all together. Jeremiah Richter ended up joining more in Excite and ESW. I originally started in Excite on a TV taping, And then eventually we worked ourselves into ESW. It was a little bit of a journey to get into it because I was still breaking into ESW at the time. But what we did, we learned more about ourselves and each other, and we realized who works with who the best.
Mm.
And it kind of always came down to Siren and Matic, Richter and Crowe. And we'll often switch it up because we're good enough to work with each other in whatever ways they want. But we kind of figured each other out, and it's become more than just this meeting of Straight Edge and Hope Dealer and stuff. It became this motley crew of 4 friends, these if you really want to call us misfits or something like that. But we started breaking out everywhere. People love tall, dark, and edgy boys, so we were giving them that. And
yeah, that is true.
It was helping me be more comfortable because it was like, okay, well, I'm a part of a faction. I'm part of a tag team. This is going to help carry me and elevate me and stuff. And then it became a point where we were all lifting each other up in our own special way.
Yeah.
It made me feel more comfortable on the mic. It made me feel more comfortable as a performer, So if it wasn't for that group, I don't know where I'd be. I wouldn't say at a bad place, but
Sure.
It does make you wonder sometimes.
No, I mean, it's totally working for you. And like I said, every time I see All Out, Edge of Hope is mentioned, comes out, etc., and people are way into it. So it's fun to see. I want to get to some of these Patreon questions because they had some good ones that I was just not expecting. I was like, okay, let's go for this. So I have this one from SL Bacchio, and they say, I'd love to know what his experience is with death matches. Is there a death match he's wrestled in that stands out, and are there any he's watched that he really loves or hates?
So around the same year that I was eventually starting to break out into professional wrestling, I was kind of ready to wrap it up with yarder bullshit, shindy stuff, just like I was at a period of my life where I was just kind of defeatist and was just kind of doing stuff to do stuff. And I had a bunch of people back in the day who were like, hey, well, you want to break glass over each other's backs and do some stupid stuff? And I'm just like, sure. I was always the kind of person that was like, oh, well, if I get hurt and it looks cool, I'm going to get views off of that. It got to a point where in the first couple minutes of the match, I lacerated my finger and meat was hanging out of my finger itself.
Oh my God.
Everywhere. I had holes in my back. I had gusset plates in my arm. I got fisherman brain busted on concrete. We had OSB wood. We didn't have like easily breakable doors or woods like that because, I was like, the mama ain't raised no bitch. I'm going to take something stupid,
Oh my God.
So I was getting like double stomped through OSB or Death Valley Driver through it. I remember one that was very iconic for me, and it was something I was bragging about for a while, and I still do, kinda. I was stabbed in the throat with a broken light tube. You can kind of see a dark little mark right here.
Darren!
And it used to go down this way.
Oh my God!
So I was supposed to take a light tube between the leg spot because, oh, nut shot, so funny, haha. And what had happened was, when it broke, the light tube was still like, it was broken in half and it created a jagged edge. It scraped up my abdomen, got me in the chest, stuck me in the throat. And this was right at the end of the match. So it was like, all right, time to wrap it up. I didn't notice. I just felt a scratch in my throat. And it was like, all right, whatever. I was more worried about my finger, which I thought I was going to lose at this point.
Yeah.
My ex-fiance ran to me. A bunch of the guys ran over to me. They're trying to close the wound. I'm like, guys, my finger. I had to reluctantly go to the hospital.
Yeah, that sounds like hospital.
From 8 p.m. to like 4 or 5 in the morning, I couldn't tell you. And the reason it took much longer than it did was they initially stitched me up and everything. And then I don't know, it was such a weird order. They had to run me through scans and stuff like that. But they had to redo the stitches. They had to undo them and redo them because they found a piece of glass that was up to my jugular. And the doctor was like, how are you alive?
Oh my God.
It says it right in front of my ex-fiance. So she's in fucking tears. And my dumbass is laughing. I'm laughing at this experience. I'm like, this is cool. I'm going to show up to the building the next day. I'm going to brag about this to all my homies.
Because you lived,
be like,
right?
hey, I laughed at death in the face. Yeah,
Holy shit.
and like I said, I was like in this carefree, I'm not gonna care what happens to myself attitude,
Yeah.
which I still have a little bit of it, but there's some limits, you gotta preserve your body for the next shows.
Yeah.
But I was kind of like on my way out. I was so burned out. This is before I was really going to take this stuff seriously. Um, and I remember to this day, like I still brag about it. There's like if you go down like all the way down to the bottom of my Instagram,
Yeah.
you can even see photos of like just the open wound and the blood is trickling down and everything. And it's going all the way down my abdomen and stuff. Um
That's fucking
it
insane.
was
But also, you've earned bragging
I
rights to be like, I got stabbed, but I didn't fucking die. That's crazy.
I have no negative opinion about deathmatch wrestling. It is a form of wrestling, and
Sure.
I did participate in this stuff back in the day. Um, would I do it again? You'd have to pay me real good to do it. I'm not gonna lie. Like there
Yeah.
has to be a real good time and a place. It has to mean something. I can't do it all the time.
Yeah.
It was to a point where like, yeah, I can tank all this. It's totally fine, but in the pace and where I'm at in the wrestling business, um, I feel like even like things like this and just connecting with everybody, it kind of beats just kind of slamming on my neck and back to light tubes and killing myself for little to nothing, because I
Yeah.
was doing small time gimmicks. It wasn't like big shows that I was doing. I was a shindy. I
Yeah.
was a shindy schmuck, you know? I will completely own up to that was how my past was.
Mm.
Um, never been against death matches. I take some pleasure in seeing the stuff that I've seen,
Yeah.
One of my
Yeah.
favorite matches, I wouldn't even call a death match, but it was the Samoa Joe Necro Butcher match.
My Patreon showed me
That was
that
kind of
one
crazy.
very early in my my wrestling journey, and I was like, "What the fuck is happening?" They also showed me, oh fuck, I'm gonna have to go find it, and they're gonna yell at me because I can't remember. But it did have to do with light tubes. It was Sexy Eddie versus somebody else, and there were light tubes that were connected to all of the ropes, and he cut himself so bad that he could like tense his fist, and like the blood was just shooting out of his arm. It was insane.
I was guilty in being that kind of person too. I was zip tying light tubes to the ropes
Holy shit.
before it would begin because I was like, oh yeah, let's just throw each other right into
Yeah.
them. Like there was this grim satisfaction of let's do the stuff that I'm not seeing as much anywhere else before it gets popular, and if it looks gnarly, I'm gonna go with it.
My God. Well, I'm very glad that you lived through that era because that's scary, and now you can just brag about it, which is pretty good. There was a second
Pretty
part
much.
to that question. They also asked, I'm curious to know if there's a horror movie he thinks more people should be aware of.
There's so many I could completely like roll off the tongue. I was a huge, massive fan and I don't see much people talk about it these days, but The Town That Dreaded Sundown.
I've never heard
And
of this.
it's your typical run-of-the-mill slasher slop where a guy's wearing a burlap sack over his head or something like that. And there are some wacky things that happen in the movie, like a guy, like the killer uses like some sort of trombone, like some sort of like one-wood instrument, and he has a knife strapped to the end of it, and he's just stabbing the person to death with it.
Yeah, okay.
I like some goofiness in my horror.
I
Like,
do
I
too.
feel like that was what made the OG slashers stand out. Like Halloween, there are some corny lines to it, but that's what made it great, Friday the 13th, it was very popular for being such campy, stereotypical whodunit slasher flicks, but I was a huge fan of that. I could go on and on about the many obscure horror movies I love. A lot of them are Japanese based
Ooh.
because
Japanese horror does it
My-
different.
yeah, and there's a fun fact to it. There's a movie, I wouldn't call it horror, it's just very shock factor, and trigger warning for those who ever want to see that. I'm not gonna really specify anything, but it's called Ichi the Killer. And
Okay.
Ichi the Killer is it's a more of a Yakuza gore flick.
Ooh.
It's about this kid, he's completely mentally warped, and he's being gaslit and manipulated by this old man to kill a bunch of yakuza. And the other main character, he's a crime boss who his superior was murdered, so now he's like kind of chasing this assassin down, but he doesn't realize it's this mentally deranged crybaby that has blades at the end of his, like at his feet, like at his boots, and he's just straight up karate cutting people down.
Yo.
But that character, the crime boss, is what kind of inspired the outlook of Darren Crowe. Yeah, if you ever look at the promotional poster for the movie, or even the character in general, he's got scars from his mouth, scars right here, here, and here. And I also read the manga. It was also an even more graphic manga. Yes, it started out as a manga before it became a movie. Because I believe it's made by Miike. He was I think he's the one who made like the One Missed Call movies and stuff.
Okay.
He goes hard with his movies. But there's this like satisfaction of being able to take these small elements of these favorite horror movies, whether it's like horror or some sort of slop, or something that will grasp the attention and make you go, oh damn. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I love that. I'm going to look up that manga after this. I'm so curious. It sounds awesome.
View at your own discretion, because holy hell.
Oh, that's great. I had a question from another person. This is from Symbol. And they say, I'd love to know his thoughts on Bray Wyatt, about what he brought in the horror aspect to wrestling, and if he had any inspiration from him or honors his memory in any way, both in Bray Wyatt and The Fiend.
I don't like to take too much from Bray Wyatt.
Yeah.
Because I respect everything that he's done to where it should have been the only thing that stood out. And I feel like the only thing that probably would, keep sake in his memory was, his friends and family, and especially the Wyatt Six. I feel like, and I love dark characters. I love these dark tropes. Bray Wyatt was the one that completely solidified it. I mean, Undertaker passed the torch to him. That's how amazing Bray Wyatt was. I was ultimately heartbroken when finding out about his passing. It was one of the worst things that I could walk into training and to find out through all the articles and all the posts about it. I grew up with some Bray Wyatt. I knew him from the Husky Harris. I knew him when he was doing the Following the Buzzards. I loved The Fiend. I loved this fun house gimmick because he knew how to balance this sense of happy-go-lucky uneasiness, and then knew when to hammer it down hard with the shock factor, or this crazy mask that he's working with. And I am not one to critique really much of what goes on in major company wrestling. I feel, because horror is such a niche thing and a lot of people don't understand it as much as us horror fanatics do, that it comes off a little too goofy. It comes off a little too try hard. You know what I mean? And I feel like there was so much that we could have done with Bray Wyatt, with his character and everything that he was planning out to. But we all worried about the timing and the place and how it was all going to be pieced together. And unfortunately, when it comes to horror characters, not many people have the patience for it.
Yeah.
It sucks to say because, in today's wrestling, we focus on we focus on the realistic aspects of who these wrestlers are and their backstories. You see a lot of wrestlers that are just them. You know what I mean? Just maybe with a different name. But he knew how to make you believe that this was him. And that was what I completely admired about Bray Wyatt. I loved him to the very end. I felt like everything that he said and he did came with reasoning. I'm so glad that they put the title on him, the big title on him, because if anybody deserved it, he did. I'm glad John Cena put him up big time during the Firefly Funhouse match. I could glaze about him endlessly, but not much I can say can completely. Nothing I can put into words could ever amount to everything he's done physically and emotionally. And I felt for his family when he passed.
Yeah, that's a really good take on that. I feel like that's a you know, as someone who is a wrestler who does a lot in the horror genre, to understand that and to have that take, I think makes sense to me.
It's a very difficult thing to get into. Like, we love horror and we love wrestling. Mixing it together could be so hard because, people had already gotten The Undertaker or they got Gangrel, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? So, they feel like they've seen it all. And then it takes a while for people to get used to this stuff, It takes time to let these things cook and marinate.
Hmm.
So, of course it was gonna take a while for people to get behind Bray Wyatt, but I'm glad that it happened when it did.
Yeah. Love that. The last question I have for the Patreon is from Ronak, and I love this one, so I saved it for last. Says, your wrestling character feels like it could exist outside the world of wrestling. If someone made a feature-length horror film about Darren Crowe, what would the story be?
Ooh, that would be a very difficult one because you could do that with anything,
Yeah.
My favorite thing about horror movies and my favorite thing about slashers is the mystery behind the person, that it feels like there's no dead giveaway or a red herring or make you question who done it. And this is why Halloween is my favorite horror movie of all time.
Mm.
Obviously, breaking that home, uh, was the concept that Michael Myers was this guy who, as a 6-year-old, killed his sister, got shipped off to a sanitarium. He breaks out and just starts hunting down people one by one by one. No rhyme, no reason, and we're not counting Halloween 2, where they said it was brother and sister reasons. I don't agree with that.
Hmm.
I loved the mystery that this guy just kind of snapped and you let him loose, and just like a feral animal, he's gonna hunt down his prey. So I would love that if there was a Darren Crowe feature-length movie, I would love there to be zero explanation of this guy's background. He's just, you just have to put him down or he's gonna put more people down, you
Yeah.
know?
I like that.
Even
That's
even if he
cool.
has a voice, even if he has a voice or a face, like, hell, Michael was unmasked in the end of the first movie, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, they love the idea that when he was unmasked, he looked like a very attractive male,
Hmm.
that he was just looked borderline angelic. That's why they had Tony Moran do the unmasking scene.
Yeah.
But I really love that even if you did unmask him, even if you did hear his voice, like, what what caused this? What is the reason? And you could try to come up with all these theories and ideas, but no answer is going to be satisfactory. You know what I mean?
I like that. I would watch that movie. That sounds, I don't know. I'm investing. Like if I for some reason make $1 million
Now you got
and
me
we're
hooked.
like
Someone do it.
yeah. Yeah. I'll work on getting the movie budget together. We'll figure it out. We've already got the actor, the mask. Like we can do this. We didn't get to touch on like, I mean, we've referenced the masks in the background, but you've got a collection going back there. I don't know if you want to talk about like where you've gotten them and some of your horror collection.
I when I was getting into horror and I always dressed up for like the Halloweens and stuff like that, my dad was such an enabler. I was in the Freddy Kruegers, the Jasons, the
Hmm.
Leatherface, the Michaels and stuff. And I remember my dad paying like 60, $80 for this Trick or Treat Studios. Or I don't know if it's Trick or Treat Studios, but it was a Halloween mask. You know what I mean? And it would be the closest of the mold you could of the Castle stretch, when Nick Castle's head was so long that the mask just kind of looked like it was stretched vertically. I used to go to my school dances with that mask. Like, it was pretty gnarly. It was one of my favorite things. I had it for
Awesome.
years. Um, because I'm so obsessed with the slashers and
Yeah.
specifically Halloween, that eventually I wanted to get into cosplay.
Hmm.
I noticed that there were so many people that were great artists. They were great with screen accuracy. There are literally Michael Myers forum sites. There are Facebook groups. There are a massive community, one that I actively take part of. A little digression, I like to participate in what is called Myers of the Year. Someone who goes by the Shape of Winter kind of helps host this type of thing, where people just kind of put in their submissions of cosplay shots and they'll pick a winner and stuff like that. For me, I thought there was this great feeling of being able to tap into this community with other Michael Myers lovers. You know what I mean?
That's
It's kind of
awesome.
insane. So I would reach out to people, and there was a guy who went by Crazy Saint who made my three masks initially. He made the 2018 one right here. Then there's the Halloween Kills mask, and then the one on the very far end is his take on the Halloween Ends mask. He wanted to re-edit it. I told him I liked how he did it and it felt different because it was before Halloween Ends was released.
Okay.
And I was so hooked onto this idea. I ended up getting this one right here. The one right next to that is a more accurate version of the Ends mask. I don't remember who made it, but he did a great job. I went to the guy who does the mold for the Trick or Treat Studios Halloween masks. He does what's called Night Owl Creep, and they're more of a screen accurate Myers mask, just without the stretch and everything. This one I tried rehauling myself, the one that's kind of standing up more. It's signed by Nick Castle himself, the original Michael, to which he signed the mask, and now that's a tattoo where it's called The Shape.
That's so cool. I don't remember us talking about that last time. I feel like that was a lore dropper I just forgot because that's sick.
He was so sweet because he kind of like when it was kind of brought up that I was a wrestler, because it sometimes happens with people I meet. He was like, "Oh, you're the Shape of pro wrestling, huh?" And I'm like, "Holy shit, did he just say that?" So it kind of was like the coolest thing to me. So
Oh my God.
I get hooked on this idea.
Yeah.
I do have this suitcase right here is full of all of my screen accurate coveralls that are made by Creepy Customs. He did the 1978 for
cool.
me. He did the Halloween Kills one, and then he did the Halloween Ends one for me. Like fully accurate fabrics, the bullet wounds, the blood, everything is accurate down to a T because they focus on every single shot that they can.
Wow.
And I'm such a stickler for it. Like
Yeah.
I kind of it's like if it doesn't look too accurate, I don't know how I feel about it. But like that's my own thing.
That is so cool. Is there any like character that if you like no budget, whatever, if you could cosplay, you would do that?
I wanted to do the grabber from Black Phone 2.
Okay, now I gotta Google this.
I really wanted to do it. So I loved the Black Phone, but I loved the second movie a lot more. He's a more undead version because he's like he's more of a
Yes.
revenant at this point, a ghost,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
he's just there's so much like ice crusts from like because he's haunting this campground that he used to kill kids in and stuff, right?
Uh-huh.
And so when he kind of pops up and he's kind of doing his little revenge story on the kid who killed him, there's this he does all these great lines, the way that he vents out his frustrations, the way that he's skating along the ice. There's this awesome feeling of you know what? You did ask there was a question you said that there was another slasher movie that I really love that people don't talk much
Yeah.
about. And I'm gonna put it in the same category as Black Phone 2. I love snowy settings. I love cold, ice cold, snowy
Okay.
settings where you feel completely isolated. Cold Prey was one of them. It's a foreign movie, and it was about people who are going out to this what is this supposedly abandoned lodge, like ski gimmick, and they don't realize they're getting hunted down in the middle of a blizzard. So when Black Phone 2 did something similar, but for a campground, I was sold. I went to the theaters like 3 times for this movie, you know? So
That's awesome.
there's settings that are just so good. They're just too good to not pass up. So like Halloween with the fall setting.
Mhm.
Some of these movies, they just kill this icy terrain, and I couldn't get enough of it.
That's cool. I've never thought of having a preference for like setting like that in a horror movie because I'm like, oh, I like this movie for this reason, whatever. But to be able to identify that it's like, oh, the icy setting is so underrated, and like yet here, and here are ways that they did it well. Now I'm gonna have to watch Cold Prey because this looks good.
A lot of people get stuck with like, oh, haunted house or like, more of a very dark setting or out in the woods, and that's totally fine because that's what we're so conditioned to. There are certain areas that are just too good to pass up, and I love movies like Cold Prey and Black Phone 2 or just stuff that, even people would probably hate me for this, but I really enjoyed the miniseries of Salem's Lot, Stephen King, and I'm talking about like the 2003, 2004 one.
Was it not good? People were not into it.
I feel like Salem's Lot, aside from the original, like, a lot of people have critiques about each take of it,
Okay.
but there was a scene that traumatized the shit out of me, and it was when one of the antagonists took one of the little boys and just kinda shoved him right under the ice
Oh
and let the
gosh.
kid drown
Yeah.
so that they could pull him out of the ice and turn him into a vampire.
That would traumatize me, yes.
And I'm
Especially
like,
as a
"I'm just a little
child.
kid watching
Yeah.
this, like, what am I doing here?"
Yeah, that's vaguely traumatizing. I completely understand on that front. But I don't want to keep you forever. I do have one more selfish question because I said I would come back to it, and I am a gamer also, so I'm curious. So I'm gonna need like your top 5 favorite games.
That's such a difficult one.
I know.
This is not going to be in order.
Mm,
There are games I really love, and some are going to be completely curveballs because
okay.
like they're not all horror.
Yeah.
Massive fan of Manhunt. Manhunt is a huge one. This
Okay.
was Rockstar's biggest way of saying "f you" to like the whole media scrum of like, oh, you can't make this, you can't make
Uh
that, and
huh.
it's like, why were people were so mad about a game where you can outright kill Nazis,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, crazy
that you
thing
can
to be
kill,
mad
like,
at.
these supremacist bastards, right?
Right.
And that they wanted these games banned from, like, every country, including America.
Mm-hmm.
So I was just kind of rolling my eyes at the concept. It's like, listen, everybody loves GTA. I love GTA.
Sure.
But Manhunt will forever be my game. Like, the fact that there
Okay.
hasn't been a third game is outright criminal. I still play them on my PC to this day.
All right.
I'll run mods to where I'll wear different skins, like Michael Myers skin or Leatherface or
Oh,
whatever,
that's
to kinda, like,
fun.
indulge in the horror fantasy because I can't get every single game, like, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Um, it hasn't come out yet, but I'm getting the Halloween game. Oh, I'm getting it. It's gonna already be my favorite one.
We are too. We're very excited. We're really excited. We have a whole group of us that plays Dead by Daylight together pretty consistently. And as soon as we saw that there was going to be a Halloween game, we
Yes.
were like, well, that's the new one, isn't it?
So I was a huge, 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 huge fan of Bloodborne.
Oh,
I'm a huge FromSoft fan. I've loved
yes.
every game of Dark Souls. I play Sekiro. I've been really enjoying. I had to name a band after that.
Yeah.
But there was something about eldritch horror in Bloodborne and
So good.
how like knowing too much will internally mess you up. And I was always into that. I love the idea of the unknown being the scariest form of horror. And I
Hmm.
have a buddy who we've been playing co-op together on it. Like, he's never played the game before.
Oh,
He's
it's
kept it
so
blind. He
fun.
wanted to make sure that he had all the components necessary to run the game. So now I've been running it with him. And so, like, I love using the blood katana, the Chikage. I love ripping through everything. There's this this satisfaction of kind of tearing the house up.
It's so good.
Um, here's a bit here's a curveball, and it goes for an entire franchise, not just a game in general. But I'm obsessed with Kingdom Hearts.
Ah, people have told me I would love it, and I've never played it. Everyone says it's so good.
My so there's a funny story with that. My mother was always kind of into anime, but she was also into Disney stuff.
Okay.
So she was into Hamtaro, Inuyasha, Sailor Moon, all that stuff. And in turn, she'd get into Final Fantasy because, her sisters, my aunts, they were also gamers too.
Hmm.
And there came to a point where Kingdom Hearts was already like getting released. There was trailers all over the market, and I didn't know how I felt about it at first because like I had such a weird attention span. So she's like, "Let's get the game and let's try it out." And I'm just like, "Sure." So back when EB Games existed, that was where we got it from.
Yeah.
So I got the OG copy of Kingdom Hearts, and I fell in love with it ever since. Part of it was that Billy Zane was voice acting and the main antagonist for that one game.
That
So
would
I
do
was
it.
like, "Listen, I always had a crush on Billy Zane, so
Who
I
who
I
didn't?
couldn't say no to that." So I
Absolutely.
loved it. So I and played every game in the franchise, loved every single bit of it, anticipatingly waiting for the fourth one.
Yeah.
Uh, but it's one of those games where I have no issue with it being like a primarily for kids game because I grew up to it.
Yeah.
And there's these very interesting mature themes that go into it, like
Hmm.
the concept of persevering through darkness and persevering through some very dark points. And like a lot of it is tragedy. And how can you persevere through tragedy, through connections and through your own personal stakes?
Yeah.
And I've always loved the stories they told with it. Um, so now this is a very tough one
Yeah.
because I could go on and on and about horror. And I know I have a whole bunch right here, but you know what? I'll just say this one is a little cop out. I loved this game called The Suffering, and it was for the PlayStation 2 or the Xbox. Um, it was a game where you played as a man who is in prison, like in a prison island, like a most notorious prison island ever, for the allegation of murdering his family.
Okay.
And depending on the ending of the game, it alters what really happened. Like if you pick the good ending, it turns out that you were crossing the wrong criminal mastermind, and he issued the hits out to the family and
Interesting.
pin the blame on you. But if you did the bad ending, you were the one that blacked out and killed the whole family. But it turns into demons start coming out of the woodworks of different varieties, and all the prison guards and
Ooh.
prisoners are getting murdered, and you have to pick up all these weapons, and you got to like persevere your ammo, you got to run through everything, and it's such a bloody mess. But it was games like that that made me fall in love with gaming in general, because it's like, this is not something we're ever going to enact in real life. I mean, come on, let's be realistic. But there's a purpose for fiction. Fiction really lets you enjoy these things in a very healthy outlet.
Yeah.
And as someone who loved horror movies, are you telling me I get to put a controller in my hand and I get to fucking kill demons and
Yeah.
stuff? Come on, you know I had to. You know what I mean? That might have been like, that's fine, but that's not all in specific order. Like my
Sure.
opinions change over time, but like those are primarily games that I will catch myself playing like all the time.
Hell yeah. I love that. As soon as you were like, I'm a gamer, I was like, all right, I need my own selfish question in here that has nothing to do with wrestling or anything else.
But Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines is a huge one for me. Like that will be
There.
an honorable mention.
Yeah. I play that almost every year now, and I didn't like grow up with that one. That one came to me later in life, like maybe a couple years ago. And I was
Yeah,
streaming and people were like, "You're going to love this game, trust me. It's really janky. You need to patch the shit out of it because it like wasn't done when they released it." And so I went down the rabbit hole, and I have loved they will never capture that like 90s grungy vampire vibe ever again. Like
exactly.
even the second one that came out, everyone was like, "Yeah, it's a fine RPG, but it's like not Vampire the Masquerade, you know? Like it's not
It's not really an
answering."
RPG. Like
Right.
it's like you just get abilities like any other like video game, like Assassin's Creed, where they just give you skills and whatever, and you're just kind of like, okay.
I have yet to play it. I own it. I bought it heavily on sale because everyone was like, "No, it's bad. You should probably not pay full price for
I will
it."
never say that. I feel like everybody's tastes in games are completely different. Like I can understand a lot of people hating it. I didn't care for it myself, but
Yeah.
you'll never know until you try it. And honestly, when I saw some of the gameplay, I almost was hooked on it. Like there were some promising aspects to it.
Yeah.
So you never know. Give it a try, you know?
Yeah. No, I've got some shit ass taste in games. I'm going to be real. So I am not the person to be like, "Don't play that game. It's bad." I'll be like, "Well, I liked it, but my tastes are weird, so you should probably take that into consideration." Okay. If people would like to find you, where can they find you?
So I have my Facebook page that is known as Darren Crowe, DarrenCrowe. That's just my Facebook page. Everything else, whether it be from YouTube, not YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, or X, whatever you want to call it, I go by Ultima Crowe, ULTIMACROWE. This was kind of a running gag when I was a kid. I loved Final Fantasy, so kind of went with that. Nobody was using it at the time. I have a TikTok. It goes by Darren Crowe Official. I post on it every once in a while, give people something to watch after. And for my YouTube, I also go by Darren Crowe. If you just look up Darren Crowe, it should be like one of the first ones that pop up,
Yeah.
aside from like matches from other companies. I try to upload a lot of wrestling highlights from like matches I really enjoy if I can keep up to it. But most of the time, I'm running a media brand for video editing for wrestling companies. I've worked for ESW. I've worked for Ground Zero. I've helped Excite. I've also have been a videographer, like working on hard cam for GCW and stuff. I've helped with K4 MMA. I try to keep myself busy at all times. I also go for personal requests because there's a lot of people who want their wrestling highlights or their gaming highlights, or hey, can you cook up a music video or a promo or something of the sort? And there's a lot that I could put out there that could catch people's eye, and I hope to keep doing it.
Hell yeah. Well, thank you so much for not just doing this once, but doing it twice. It was awesome to have you here. I'm hoping I will have this out very, very soon. So hopefully those of you watching, you will be seeing this very soon after we record this. But Darren, thank you. And thank you all for watching. And I will see you in the next video.
Thank you so much.